Another shooting in Texas. This time it's in Fort Worth, Texas, where Tatiana Jefferson was shot in the privacy of her home while babysitting an 8-year-old. She was babysitting an 8-year-old, and the police received a call from a neighbor regarding a welfare check. Now, the first question that came to my mind, and I'm not going to be on this too long because we saw what happened with the Amber Geiger situation, but the first thought that came to my mind was, why did they have their firearms drawn while conducting a welfare check? And maybe because of the information that was given to them by the dispatcher or by the neighbor when he called, because the lights were on, the door was open. Now, I'm sure the cops could have handled that a lot different. Unless, of course, they're scared. And I mentioned this in prior videos of the past, that scared cops don't need to be cops. You don't need to be a police officer if you are scared. If you are quick to draw your firearm, and I understand, I completely understand certain situations that you may be in that requires you to be cautious and draw your firearm, but according to the police video, he didn't even give her a chance to show her hands. She was through the window, and the minute he said, "Show your hands," he pulled the trigger. Now, that reminds me of the cops that has got a bad habit of saying, "Stop resisting." Amber Geiger claims that she said the same thing to Bothan Jean, "Show your hands," and she shot him. So now they went from "stop resisting" to "show your hands." Now, they found a firearm in the house, but they did not say they found the firearm close to her when she fell, which would make them believe that she had a firearm in her hand. If she was babysitting, why did she have a firearm in her hand in the window and being immediately shot? Now, another mistake that the police made was that they did not announce themselves as police. They did not tell her that they were the police. They didn't identify themselves as police. He could have been anyone. He just said, "Show your hands," pow, pow, pow. He shot her without even giving her the chance to show her hands in the window. Now, I'm going to share a situation that occurred with me one summer. I came home, the alarm went off, the house alarm went off. I silenced the alarm, and I'm waiting for the alarm company to call. Well, they didn't call. So I'm standing by the phone waiting for the alarm company to call. They didn't call. Next thing you know, I'm hearing somebody walk on my porch. Now, no one ever really walks on my porch. People that know me, my family, they usually call before they come. They just don't come over, right? So my family don't just come over. So if someone walks on the porch, it's someone that really don't need to be there in most cases, outside of the mailman and UPS and Federal Express. But at that hour of the night, around 10:30, 11 o'clock, I don't expect anyone to be walking on my porch. So all of a sudden I hear these footprints or footsteps on my porch. Not only did they come on the porch, but they turned the doorknob of my house and they walked in. It was two cops. One cop I knew, tall, dark-skinned brother, and a white cop. The white cop came in first. When that doorknob turned, I went to the door. I came from around the corner because I was standing next to the phone waiting for the alarm company to call me so that I could let them know that it was a false alarm. They just notified the police. So when the police came, they walked in my house. Now keep in mind, they did not have their firearms drawn. They walked in because they received a call from the alarm company, an intrusion alarm, and they came. They answered the call, but they walked in. When they walked in, I walked to the door. I had a .45 in my hand down to my side. And when I came around the corner, I'm sure I had that crazy look in my eyes. And when I saw the black cop, he just laughed and said, "Oh man," and he turned around and walked away. I said, "Man, y'all don't walk up in people's house like that. Y'all could have got shot." And they laughed it off. He asked for the password or the code. I gave it to him. They went on about their business. Nobody got shot. Nobody died. Now, did they take a chance by just opening the door, walking in my house? Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Did I take a chance by walking to the door with a firearm in my hands? Yes, I took that chance because I'm in the privacy of my home. Someone's walking on my porch and then walking in the house, did not identify themselves as police. So my mind is already in a mode, all right, where one shot, one kill, right? So police didn't shoot me. I didn't shoot the cops. Nobody was in danger. So if these cops were given a welfare check, they could have handled that a lot different. If he was scared, he should have called backup. Now, I had a conversation with a federal cop about this same situation, the Amber Geiger case, and then this case right here. And one thing I said to him, because he took the stand that a cop would normally take. They're protecting each other. And see, that's why you have so many civilians, not just black people, that don't trust police, because you have the good cops that's vouching for the corrupt cops or potentially corrupt cops. So if you support them in their wrong, it's going to make the whole force look bad, right? So we had a conversation and I told him, I said, you know, it's got nothing to do with the person, the cop himself. It's the uniform that people don't trust. And then I shared a scene from I Dream of Jeannie, when Jeannie had this little dog that whenever the dog saw Major Nelson or Major Healy in their uniform, the dog would become invisible and attack them. So the dog had them spooked. The dog would just attack them, and they were trying to figure out why this dog kept attacking them. Jeannie was trying to figure out why the dog was attacking them, because the dog was such a good dog, right? And we hear that about cops. Oh, he's a good family man. He's not racist at all. He's a good person, but yet you took the life of an unarmed civilian. In many cases, it's so-called black Americans. So Jeannie was trying to figure out why the dog was attacking Major Healy, Major Nelson, and the rest of them. Well, after she did her research, she came back at the end of the show and says she took a jacket, threw it on the floor, the dog became invisible and attacked the military jacket. The story was the dog had a previous owner that wore a uniform. And so whenever the dog saw a uniform, the dog would become invisible and attack the uniform. Not the person that's wearing the uniform. It was the uniform that triggered that dog's sense of attack. So that's the way it is when it comes to police. When you have something in the case of Amber Geiger, and now you have it in the case in Texas where people are in their home, in the privacy of their home. And see, that's why you have the left, the Democrats are so bent on gun control. Because if you disarm civilians, this is a situation that could happen. Now, there's people that may say, well, she had a gun, but she didn't feel threatened. She was in her home. And even if they did find a gun, it wasn't near her or in her hands, right? You walk in my house, you're gonna find some guns, but it don't mean that I was aggressive towards anyone or a threat towards anyone. So when I heard the news, they twisted it to make it appear that she had a gun. So the media automatically came out justifying this cop's actions of shooting this woman that was babysitting in the privacy of her own home. Now, the neighbor, if he felt that something wasn't right, why didn't he go over there? And I know everybody's not built for that, but I know myself personally, if I was cool with my neighbors, right? And I knew my neighbor was out of town, and I saw their lights on and the door wide open, I go over to myself and kind of knock on the door and says, hello. And then I'll tell them, okay, I just wanted to check because I thought you was out of town, right? I go and confirm it myself, who's in that house, especially if I know that they're out of town or they're supposed to be out of town, right? So, but for this man, he probably thought that he was doing a good thing by calling cops, but you can't do that nowadays, man, because you have too many scared cops on the force. And then after they do their dirt, they try to justify it. Now, a thought came to my mind when I heard this article, and I commented on Facebook. And I said on Facebook, I wonder if the family of Tatiana Jefferson is going to forgive the cop, give him a hug and the Bible, and pray with him. I wonder if they're going to do the same thing that happened with Amber Geiger. And then I said, if any cop wants to get away with murdering black people, all they have to do is show remorse. Cry a little bit. Talk about how sorry you are. And you didn't mean to do it. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. Because that's what Amber Geiger did, and they felt sorry for her. And they forgot all about the fact that she murdered an innocent, unarmed man in the privacy of his own home. She walked into his apartment and shot him in cold blood. She used the same words that this cop used when he went in Tatiana's apartment, or better yet, when he shot her from outside. She's inside. He's outside. The window wasn't even open. So when she came to the window, he was spooked, did not even identify himself as a cop, but he said, show your hands, and before she could even respond, he shot her down in cold blood. But if that cop wants to walk away free or get less time, all he got to do is be remorseful. Because according to a couple of the jurors that they interviewed, they said that she was remorseful and she was really sorry for what she did. Therefore, they only awarded her 10 years. And everybody gave her a hug, happy-go-lucky family. And then you have blacks on the internet talking about forgiveness and how God was in his life and God used that young man. And now a murderer got less time and she's not going to do 10 years. See, so if this cop wants to walk, all he got to do is be remorseful, shed some tears, and say he's sorry. And black people will feel sorry for him. That's all he got to do. So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to watch the outcome as information come out. And there's going to be people that's going to be scared because one of the witnesses in the Amber Geiger case was shot down, and then they call themselves finding the people really quick of who did it. Now I think these are people that they pin that on. or probably had other charges and say, well, look, if you just do this time, if you take the blame for this, we'll hit you off with a few dollars, or we'll do you a favor. So somebody took the charge for what a cop did. And in my heart, I still believe a cop was the one that shot that witness as a message to keep their mouth closed. You should have kept your mouth closed, because according to a couple of articles, dude was shot in his mouth. That was sending out a message. So even in this case, if there were witnesses outside of the body cam, people ain't gonna speak, man, because they fear their life because of the gang of blue, the gang in blue, that will take your life if you testify against one of theirs. So this is quite unfortunate. She has the same last name that my family has. It's quite interesting. I have family members with that name. So I'm just gonna sit back and watch how this turn out. But again, all this cop have to do is show remorse and cry, say he's sorry, talk about how he's not a racist, and just sit there and stare forward in the courtroom, put on an act, and black people will feel sorry for you and let you go. But it's just unfortunate that black people can't have that type of sympathy towards each other. If you say something about their mama or call one of the women out of their name, then you lose your life. They don't sympathize with you. I mean, even if a female lies on the man and he's trying to plead his case, black people don't want to hear that. They want to kill you anyway. But this white racist cop, Amber Geiger, shot a dude in cold blood, and a lot of the evidence that originally came out disappeared. You don't hear about it no more, right? So it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens in this case, because already I've heard word that they're already, dude is not going to get fired. It's going to be a wrongful death type thing, and he's going to say he feared his life and all this other nonsense. The games that police play. It's a game. It's how they word things. And the jurors are going to talk about how dangerous cops' jobs are, and you don't understand, and he was spooked. But he didn't even identify himself as police. He didn't even identify himself as cop. Nobody knocked on the door. And I know he was checking out the perimeters, but nobody knocked on that door. Hello, is anybody home? No one did that. He just acted on impulse. Does race have anything to do with it? Maybe so, because they know when they're walking into a so-called black neighborhood. You walk into a so-called black neighborhood, you know you're dealing with black people. So you already have a preconceived thought of what could go down. Versus if he had went to a white neighborhood where it's predominantly white people. Would he have taken the same approach had he been in a white neighborhood and a white woman came to the door or to the window? Would he have shot through that window? Or would he have taken time out to knock on the door to see who's in there? To find out why they are in there. So, feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe, click on the Cash App button and donate to this channel. Until next time, I'm fearless.